Fantasy fanfiction. Martial arts online game. Get Wanjian to return to the clan at the beginning. Chapter 11. Chen Li really didn't care about the strange players surrounding this Mei Zhuang. As a well-known land boundary in the original book, it is normal for players to covet it. It's just that at this level and stage, there is no such adventure as him, and it is undoubtedly a dream to enter Meizhuang. Without letting him wait for too long, Danqing rushed towards this side in a hurry, and looked at Chen Li in disbelief. "You found the monkey wine." Chen Li didn't talk nonsense. He took out the jug from his backpack, and handed it to Dan Qingsheng with a smile. Dan Qingsheng was like a flower picker who has been holding back for countless years and saw a pure and lovely little nun. Like a wolf pouncing on his food, he snatched the jug away, opened the lid and smelled it. In fact, there is no need to go up to smell it, just open the lid. The whole house and even the whole courtyard is full of this incomparably rich fruity aroma. And in this fruity fragrance, there is the sweetness of fine wine. Dan Qingsheng wanted to take a sip immediately, but after thinking about it, he screwed the lid on again. "If you drink this kind of good food alone, you will lose the fun. Let me wait for my brothers to come and cook a table of delicacies, and then taste such delicacies together. How about you come together?" Good. Being able to drink with seniors like Mr. is also a great joy in life. Naturally, Chen Li would not refuse. Although the four friends of Meizhuang are not very good at martial arts, their strength is in the middle and lower levels of the world, but for players at this stage, it is also a rare adventure. And more importantly, there is another one under Meizhuang. Although Ren Wuxing didn't have much attraction for him, martial arts like star attracting Dafa are treasures for others, but for Chen Li, it's just tasteless. But what Chen Li values more is Ren Wuxing's status in this plot line of Xiaoao. Hearing what Chen Li said, Dan Qingsheng was also rude. "Come on, I'll give you a call first, and then I'll show you my skills." This guy is obviously an impatient temper, no wonder his painting technique has never been able to get the point. But I have to say, this guy's cooking skills are far beyond Chen Li's expectations. He was flipping up and down in the kitchen, but in less than half an hour, a dish full of fragrance was already placed in front of him. Even Chen Li followed suit and got a harvest. You watched the cooking process of the 9th grade chef, Dan Qingsheng, and you learned the thaumaturgy, cooking. Close black lens bracket. Cooking. Chen Li was a little speechless. Apart from martial arts, Zhonghu naturally has other thaumaturgy. Some of these thaumaturgies seem useless, but in fact, sometimes they are even several times more effective than martial arts. For example, the medical skills that Chen Li wants to learn the most are related to the upper limit of Taoism and Buddhism martial arts, Taoist Tibetan, and Buddhism. But is there a ball for this cooking? This thing can't be upgraded with potential points, but can only be practiced hard by yourself. It can be said that it is not much more difficult than the real-life upgrade. But with just one meal, the cooking that he had just learned was abruptly promoted to the 2nd level. It can also be seen from this that Dan Qingsheng's craftsmanship is indeed quite good. Chen Li also finally met the other 3 owners of this Meizhuang. Huang Zonggung, dressed in a yellow gown, with white beard and hair, looks thin and unfashionable, but his eyes are clear. He Zi was wearing a long black gown. His face was as white as a ghost, but his long hair was as black as ink. The bald penman has a small mustache and is always smiling. Looking at Danqing, he chuckles. "What's wrong with the 4th one? I'm so happy today. And who is this little friend?" Dan Qingsheng licked the vegetable soup on his thumb and smiled. "I got some good wine today, so please invite some elder brothers to come and have a taste. As for this Chen Xiaoyu, he is a stranger, the one who found this good wine for me. He is also a man of my temperament." Speaking of this, a system prompt sounded from Chen Li's ear. Dan Qingsheng's favorability towards you +25, current favorability, 25, close. The bald penman's favorability towards you +10, current favorability, 10, friendly. Only the bald pen man followed suit. Chen Li was thinking to himself, but there was a smile on his face and he cupped his hands. It just coincided with the meeting, but it made several seniors laugh. Among the 4, Huang Zonggung, who is the leader, is the most powerful and naturally the most sensitive person. He shrugged his nose in surprise and looked at Chen Li. "Little friend seems to have a bloody smell. Although there are slaughtered poultry and livestock in the kitchen, the bloody smell seems to have 3 more evil spirits. Is it human blood? As soon as this remark came out, the originally harmonious atmosphere froze suddenly, and the rest of the people also looked at Chen Li. Chen Li didn't hide anything. In the hall, he took out 2 bloody heads from his backpack and put them on the table. The smile was still on his face. The 2 guys I met when I came back this time killed them. I heard that they were still 2 disciples of the Qingcheng 4 talents. It's just that even the money from the tea stalls on the roadside has to be blackmailed. How can there be any famous family? Decent look. As soon as this remark came out, Huang Zonggung and He Heizi, who had different expressions, looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. Dan Qingsheng was even more outrageous. He looked Chen Li up and down. Did you kill these 2 guys? Chen Li nodded. Students of the Qingcheng faction. Ha ha ha. Good. We have good wine today. And the heads of these so-called decent hypocrites serve as appetizers. It's really beautiful. This Chen Xiaoyu is also a member of my generation. Only then did Huang Zonggung laugh and say, Huang Zonggung's favorability towards you is +20, and the current favorability is 20 friendly. Hai Heizi's favorability towards you +5, current favorability 5 friendly. Dan Qingsheng's favorability towards you +10, current favorability 35 close. The bald penman's favorability towards you +20, current favorability 30 close. Taking out the heads of the 2 Qingcheng sect disciples undoubtedly made the 4 guys from the Sun Moon God sect a lot closer to Chen Li. Sitting down in twos, Dan Qingsheng on the side finally couldn't help looking at Chen Li and asking. You didn't have any martial arts before, kid. It's only been such a short time, and you have this level of strength. These words undoubtedly aroused everyone's curiosity again, especially that black and white son. This guy is very scheming, and he is more fanatical about martial arts than others. Facing everyone's searching eyes, Chen Li smiled shyly and said, Besides the aliens, I am actually a swordsman. Your mission, looking for monkey wine, 5th grade difficulty, is complete. You get a reward, Mizhuang token. Experience 4,000 points. Close black lens bracket. Your level has been raised to level 12. Blood plus 100 points. Close black lens bracket. A pot of treasure level monkey wine was exchanged for a token that could enter and exit Mizhuang at any time. It seemed that Chen Li had lost money, but only Chen Li knew the meaning and benefits of this token. Not to mention it's much more than that. Boy, since you said you were a master of swordsmanship, how about we come and have a competition? If you win, I will teach you my master's swordsmanship. If you lose, I have to find Ruho again. Erju is waiting for the world's uncommon wine. How about it? Dan Qingsheng, who was a little drunk, looked at Chen Li with a smile. His eyes are full of cunning. Needless to say, this guy has a high capacity for alcohol, and he has internal energy close by, so this little bit of drunkenness is just for fun. Chen Li boasts that his current strength is really good. But Danqing was born in Shaoao, so he can be regarded as a moderate master. In this, Zhonghu, he is also in existence with a level close to level 30. Before Chen Li opened his mouth, the bald man over there who had a great impression of Chen Li after the banquet laughed and scolded. You fool, you clearly want to cheat for drinking and eating. Your strength is close to entering the country. Brother Chen is just getting started. If you spread it out, you will be bullying the younger. Danqing gave this brother a blank look. How could his own brother help outsiders? Some dissatisfied. Then what do you say? The bald penman laughed. Didn't you say that before? I passed Ding Jian's one-word electric sword to Brother Chen. Since Brother Chen said that he is a wizard of swordsmanship, let Ding Jian make 2 moves with him. No, that's it. The same swordsmanship looks good in fights, doesn't it? Quote. As soon as this remark came out, Huang Zonggung and He Heizi, who had never said much before, also nodded. At the same time, a system notification came again. Whether to accept the task, swordsmanship. Close black lens bracket. Chen Li said yes in his heart, and then he smiled and said, it just so happens that Chen also really wants to experience the swordsmanship attainments of the original owner of this electric sword. Ding Jian was a man who looked to be about 30 years old. His face was not handsome, but he was not too simple and honest. He was holding a long sword. In the compound of Mizhuang, Chen Li stood opposite him, surrounded by 4 friends of Mizhuang. What do you think, big brother? Dan Qingsheng smiled and looked at Huang Zonggung, the most experienced man. Huang Zonggung stroked the beard on his chin, smiled and said, "You kid also said that the third child is helping others, how can you think about it? Ding Jian has been obsessed with the word electric sword for nearly 20 years, and this kid has only learned it for 2 days according to your words, even if he is really a swordsman. I'm afraid it's impossible to be his opponent. Otherwise, it's still worth it." Dan Qingsheng also stroked his long beard that reached to his belly, and then he smiled broadly. "One way of the sword, I am afraid that the most talented person in today's Zhonghu is the third young master of Shenjian Villa, who is now ranked 6th in the world list at only 25. It's just that it's absolutely impossible for even those Tianzhou people to surpass Lao Ding, who has been immersed in the same sword for 20 years in a day or two." Quote, "The 3 lists of heaven, earth and people are the official powers of various countries, mainly based on the 6 sects of the Song dynasty, to evaluate the list of the world's masters in the rivers and lakes. Because of the ranking on the list, the constant fighting has been triggered, and it is also an important means for the courts of various countries to balance the power in the world. The list of people is the ranking of those under the age of 30 and below the innate level 60 realm. It is mainly the ranking of rookies on the rivers and lakes. There are a full 250 rankings. There is no age limit on the Earth list, only the ranking of the mainstay masters who have reached the level of congenital or above, and below the realm of the Land God Master, level 90. Compared with the list of people, only 100 people can be on the list. As for the Tianbang, there is no ranking, or even a fixed number of people. Only the great masters in the legendary who have broken through the unity of heaven and man, and land gods and fairyland will be ranked on the top. There are only so few. Chen Li is naturally well aware of this. His highest achievement in his previous life was staying in the 90th place on the local list for half a year. As for Xie Zhaofeng, the third young master of Shenjian Villa that Dan Qingsheng was talking about, he had even met him. When the last fight for this sword order in the last life, the third young master of the Xie family was also on the list. Ding Jian obviously didn't know what was going on in Chen Li's mind, so he cupped his hands slightly. "Brother Chen, please, Ding is overstepping." Chen Li withdrew his mind, showed a smile and cupped his hands. "Please." The two almost drew their swords together. The 4 Zhongnan friends who were watching almost stopped talking together and looked into the scene. In an instant, it seems that there are 2 electric sounds resounding through the sky together. The radiance of the 2 long swords at this moment reflected the 2 people like the god of thunder. It's just that at this moment, everyone was horrified to see that besides the pale electric glow, there was an indescribable special feeling on the Qingfeng sword in Chen Li's hand. The next moment, the 2 long swords shining with lightning light moved together. Between lightning and thunder, only one sword is needed to decide the winner. The Qingfeng sword was slowly put into its sheath. Chen Li remained motionless. At the same time, the hair crown on Ding Jian's head had already burst open. The scattered hair and the sword light that had not completely faded reflected the man who had been immersed in the one-word electric sword for nearly 20 years. His face was as pale as snow. Chen Li looked at the new row in his list of martial arts, and couldn't help showing a smile. Splashing ink and hemp swordsmanship, 6th grade. The first weight, 0.06. Dan Qingsheng is the pinnacle of swordplay. Each of these dozens of sword moves has a killing effect, each move has a change, and they are gathered into one, which is extremely complicated. There are a total of 7 ultimate moves of White Rainbow Piercing the Sun, Tengjiao Rising Phoenix, Spring Wind Yangliu, Yulong Falling Off the Cliff, Left and Right Interaction, and Pingsha Loyan. Close black lens bracket. Sword parry ability plus 20%. Sword speed and power plus 30%. After each move is used, the power of the next move can be increased by 10%. It can be stacked 10 times in total. Close black lens bracket. Baihong Guanri. Among countless changes, the first move contains a sword with killing intent, and the chance of killing it is plus 10%. Vital attack plus 100%. Close black lens bracket. 6th grade swordsmanship. In such a short time after just entering the arena, martial arts of the 6th rank can be said to be rare. This sword technique is Dan Qingsheng's top-notch kung fu. After Chen Li defeated Ding Jian, Dan Qingsheng was also willing to gamble and admit defeat. Although he cursed and asked Ding Jian to go to Turpin to transport wine, he still gave Chen Li the secret of the splashing ink and hemp swordsmanship. This sword technique can be said to be two different extremes from one character electric sword. The latter is brewing all the attack and killing power in this sword, while the former is extremely complicated. Dan Qingsheng is free and easy. Compared with other people, he is a little more happy in the world, so Chen Li is also willing to contact him. After he taught the sword technique, he directly picked up the sword and came to Chen Li in the name of exchanging ideas. Li, hello. It's just that he was merciless when he started, which made Chen Li painful and happy. Slowly watching the proficiency of this, splashing ink and hemp swordsmanship, rapidly increase. But when he was in this Plum Village, outside of Plum Village, there were quite a few more figures at some point. The leader was a young man who also looked around 20, with a gloomy face, looking at the closed gate of Mizhuang. He was completely annoyed. Is that guy out yet? Yes, President, the brothers have been watching here all the time. That person hasn't come out since he entered this Mizhuang yesterday. Someone else took the lead. If someone who has a certain understanding of the game circle sees this young man in front of him, he will definitely exclaim, the leader who can be ranked in the top 10 in the game circle of Longguo, Feng Lai, the president of Fengxing Guild. As the first virtual reality game, Fengxing Guild will naturally not let it go. Compared with other people who joined the sect in a hurry, Feng Lai was not in a hurry. Born in Yuhang City, he thought of the opportunity of West Lake Mizhuang immediately. Unfortunately, after all, it was a slow step. Feng Lai's face was gloomy, looking at the gate of Mizhuang. If it wasn't for the fact that his subordinates tried to enter several times but were cut off by the guards, he would have wanted to force his way in a long time ago. Now I can only watch, thinking that that guy who doesn't know who it is in this Mizhuang. Thinking of this, Feng Lai was so angry that his teeth itch. Boss, what are we going to do now? It's been a day and a night, and that guy has no intention of coming out. Is it possible that he has been guarding here all the time? We're fine. President, if you continue to work like this, I'm afraid the level will make the rest of you people surpassed. Feng Lai glanced at his subordinates. Zhonghu is not an ordinary game. It's useless to grab so much time for leveling. Adventure and martial arts are the real decisive elements. As long as he can get mixed into Mizhuang, those 4 stinky fish and rotten shrimps are fine, but Ren Wuxing is in this Mizhuang. What does Ren Wuxing have on him? Star-attracting Dafa. As long as you have the star-attracting method, what if you make those guys more than 10 levels? Quote. Not to mention, to be able to get to this point, Feng Lai is indeed quite clear-headed besides his family's influence and financial resources. He paused and said, you have also seen the system announcement yesterday, what is called, Chen Li, probably some kind of adventure. Otherwise, it would be impossible to kill the Qingcheng 4th talent in such a short time. This is the difference between Zhonghu and other games. Don't play this game as a common game. Quote. A younger brother on the side said with some doubts. Boss, if this is the case, why don't we go to Wuliang Mountain or Kunlun to find the unique skills such as Biming magic art and 9 suns in the original book? Such martial arts should be easier and more convenient to obtain. Feng Lai said impatiently, can you take a good look at the forums? Which of these places is not crowded with people? There are so many corpses piled up under the Sigyu cliff at the back of Mount Hua. And, Zhonghu, officials have said before that some special chance encounters are not something you can get just by knowing the original work. Look at those people now, who has obtained the Biming divine art? Who else has obtained the 9 suns divine art, the Dugu 9 swords? The rivers and lakes guarantee the stability of their respective plot lines, and it is impossible for such mistakes to occur. If you want to go one step ahead, you must find another way. Quote. I see, the boss really deserves to be the boss. Hearing the flattery of the little brothers, Feng Lai nodded his head in satisfaction, and just about to say something, the gate of Mizhuang not far away suddenly opened. In his gaze, a figure walked out of it. Facing the sunshine of Yuhang, Chen Li stretched his waist a little bit, but before he could catch his breath, figures surrounded him. In the Zhonghu, there are too many fighting and killing things. The arrival of other players will not only make these things less but more. But the leader made him a little stunned. He was not born in Yuhang in his last life, but he knows a lot about Mizhuang. The main reason lies in the person in front of him. Windy. In the previous life, I had a lot of grievances with him, so, Chen Li carefully studied this guy's experience, and knew that this guy got a chance to meet in Mizhuang in the early days. And this time in Yuhang, I took the adventure of this guy, which can be regarded as a karmic cycle. In his last life, Feng Lai was also a master who was close to the top level. Although he was far from the highest level of land gods, this guy was lucky and had many opportunities. It's just that in the later stage of Zhonghu, it's not just a chance that can improve the level of strength. Compared with Feng Lai, Chen Li's chances are few and far between, and even before crossing, he didn't have half of his best skills. And the grudge with this Feng Lai is because of one thing. In the rivers and lakes, martial arts are important, and weapons are equally important, and the peerless famous weapons above the 9th rank are unique. Chen Li once got the peerless weapon, Zaiwei soft sword, by chance. The Shenmen 13 swords, and fingering and soft swordsmanship, he is good at are both hard and soft swordsmanship. The Zaiwei soft sword has improved him so much that it is unimaginable. It was also ranked at the forefront of the weapon list at that time. It was also an important reason why he was able to be on the list in the first place. It's just that this Zaiwei soft sword also involves a secret. That is the whereabouts of the sword demon Dugu Chubai. If you can get this thing and see that existence, there must be a chance. This is also the easiest way to obtain the unique skill, Dugu 9 swords, other than those from the Washan sect, that is most easily accepted by players. What the result is, naturally needless to say. Enemies meet, extremely jealous, Chen Li's eyes are completely cold. It's just that Feng Lai didn't seem to see it, instead he walked forward with a smile, and said with a slight smile. This brother is really lucky, to be able to enter the Plum Village, must have gained a lot. Chen Li didn't hide it either, and said with a smile. It's okay, a few thaumaturgies, and a middle-grade swordsmanship. Mid-grade swordsmanship. Feng Lai's eyeballs were almost red. At this stage, even players who have joined the sect, the swordsmanship that can be learned is the first rank to third rank low rank swordsmanship. Middle grade swordsmanship, the representative grade is the 4th grade to the 6th grade. At this stage, it is enough to lay the foundation. Feng Lai's smile was a bit forced, he paused and said. Mid-grade martial arts, my brother should not have a high level to do the task, so I can't learn it now, right? Brother, you might as well offer a price, I will buy all kinds of martial arts. Chen Li shook his head. Sorry, I've already learned it. And even if I didn't learn it, I wouldn't sell it to you guys. As soon as these words came out, the smile on Feng Lai's face froze completely, and his face finally became gloomy. Brother, what you said is a bit extreme. If you make friends, you will have a lot of ways to go in this river and lake in the future. On the contrary, Chen Li smiled brighter, what if I don't want to make this friend? Feng Lai also smiled, but this smile was completely full of viciousness. If you don't make friends, there will naturally be no other way. Not only is there no other way, maybe this only one way will be blocked. Do it. Chen Li has long been too lazy to talk nonsense with him. In this life, he has reborn in the first life. He doesn't need to take the enemies of the previous life too seriously, but if he dares to jump in front of him, he will be trampled to death. The sound of clanging swords has already sounded. The edge of the Qingfeng sword shone, and a clear white sword light rippled on Chen Li's face, like an electric glow. Clang, clang, clang clanging sound came. Feng Lai was taken aback for a moment, and looked at the long sword in his hand in disbelief. This long sword, which cost him over 100 taels of silver to forge, was cut off at the waist. And the most important thing is Chen Li in front of me. Splashing ink and hemp swordsmanship is different from the one-stroke lore of the one-character electric sword. It's complicated, one ring after another, but this kind of swordsmanship, with one enemy against many, is undoubtedly the best. The sword edge seemed to draw a circle in the air, and a circle was also emptied beside Chen Li. The white rainbow runs through the sun. -1442. Teng Jiao Rising Phoenix. -987. Spring Willows. -2105. One after another sword edge swayed. Light without shadow, sword without trace. Every time the blood red number floats up, it means that a person has fallen under Chen Li's sword. In just a moment, no one dared to stop Chen Li in front of the Mizhuang gate. Feng Lai, who was motionless in front of him, looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. His Adam's apple rolled, his eyes widened. It was just a game, but the scene in front of him still made his heart shattered with fear. Who the hell are you? Do you dare to report your name? Your dad. Chen Li's expression remained unchanged, but the Qingfeng sword had already pierced Feng Lai's throat. Going out for a trip, how did you get so bloody? A figure asked with a smile. It wasn't someone else, it was the most scheming black and white son in this Mizhuang. It's just some little thieves, it's okay. Black and White Z laughed. Since it's not in the way, how about playing a few games with the old man? In the past few days, Chen Li has been staying in this Mizhuang, and his friendship with the four Zhongnan friends is getting higher and higher. Even Black and White, who is the most difficult to increase the favorability of, still has 40 close favorability at this time. It's just that in terms of martial arts, there is no gain. It is still the original, one-character electric sword, and splashing ink and hemp swordsmanship. However, the realm of the latter has also been raised to the 6th level. But Chen Li's harvest is really not small. The main reason lies in the thaumaturgy that I learned together with these 4 people when nothing happened. These 4 people, one of them is proficient in piano, chess, calligraphy and painting. Although Chen Li did not get the martial arts of these people, but the rhythm of the piano, chess, calligraphy, and dancing's thaumaturgy have all made great progress. But in the past few days, Zhonghu has become more and more lively. One of the protagonists is Chen Li, who is still ignorant at this time. Just because the video of dealing with Feng Lai and others before was posted on the forum of this official website. Fengxing, in the past online games, they are all overlord-level guilds, and the entire Dragon Kingdom can be compared with one hand. Now that he has suffered such a big loss, even the president Feng Lai was directly pouted, and he even said, "I am your father." Such humiliation undoubtedly made the Fengxing Guild the laughingstock of countless people during this period. However, Zhonghu has a very special mechanism. As long as the player is unwilling, unless there are some special circumstances, the name of their ID will not be displayed. Either they have the skills to investigate, or naturally the other party took the initiative to inform them. So popular that they didn't even know who the person who killed them was. And countless players are like headless chickens, wanting to see who this mysterious player in Mizhuang is. Of course, in the end, they all become the souls of the guards of Mizhuang. For no reason lost level in martial arts realm. There are many things going on in the rivers and lakes, and this matter has gradually subsided over time. After a few days, no one cares anymore. Because something really big is about to happen. As time passed, some Washan disciples gained Yu Lingshan's favorability, and knew that this Miss Washan had previously pretended to be a little beggar, was molested by Yu Renyan, and then was killed by Lin Pingji. In today's Zhonghu, Fuzhou suddenly became the center of the whirlpool, just waiting for the Fuwei escort's extermination case, which is also the beginning of the story of Xiaoao. Chen Li didn't care at all, as if he didn't know it. The first time Feng Lai, who was his enemy in the last life, really became famous in the Zhonghu was when the plot of Fuzhou Fuwei Escort Bureau began. And this guy already got the star-absorbing magic at that time. It's just that Chen Li hasn't found the entrance to the secret room at the bottom of the West Lake in the past few days. Make him a little anxious. Little friend, your heart is not calm, and you are not calm in chess. The most important thing is to play chess. He Z glanced at Chen Li, and said quietly. Just as Chen Li was about to say something, Black and White suddenly stretched out his hand, and poked a hole in the chessboard made of fine steel with his fingers. Chen Li was taken aback, and Haihaizi smiled slightly and said. Little friend, what about my Schwantian finger? How about a middle grade up to 6th grade fingering? In the eyes of ordinary players, it is considered superb, but in the eyes of Chen Li, it is really not impressive. Sharp, unstoppable, truly unique in the world. Chen Li praised, sincerely. Ha ha. Haihaizi looks joyful. Little friend's talent is astonishing, rare in the world. But rough jade has to be carved by a famous craftsman. It takes a master to teach you with amazing talent. Chen Li's complexion remained unchanged, but he was suddenly startled. This old guy wouldn't want to take him as his apprentice, would he? Senior wants to accept me as a disciple. Fortunately, Hei's next sentence changed abruptly, and he said with a smile. Little friend's aptitude is astounding, and the old man would not dare to do it, but I can indeed find a good teacher for my little friend. That person is a master of the world. Little friends, you know that the former leader of my Sun Moon God sect is now being imprisoned here. He is a master who can be counted in this place in the south of the Yangtze River. Quote. Let me do it. Chen Li's heart moved slightly. But having said that, the current Ren Wuxing is only in the 60s. The same is true for the Invincible East. The combat power of the characters in Xiaoao's plot is relatively low, but the Zhonghu is not Xiaoao's Zhonghu. As long as these top characters are given time, their level and realm can be improved. Zhang Sanfeng is the best example. This old guy wants Ren Wuxing to be his master. Chen Li thought to himself. This senior is so kind. How did this junior receive it? He pretended to be flattered. There was a flash of light in Hei's eyes, his voice lowered slightly, and he smiled slightly. The former leader is imprisoned now, and it is estimated that there is no hope of escape in this life. When the time comes, you pretend to break into that dungeon unintentionally. With your talent, maybe that guy will develop a heart of compassion. Other martial arts are fine. If you have obtained its star-absorbing method, you must give me a copy. Once you succeed, you will not only have the inheritance of the previous leader, but also the Schwantian finger of the old man. Teach with you. How? Quote. I have to say, the idea of this old thing is really great. Chen Li narrowed his eyes slightly, showing a flattered look and said in surprise. Thank you for your love, senior. Don't worry, senior, this junior will definitely live up to the trust of senior. That's it. Go to the end. Hei's led Chen Li to a secret room at the back of Mei Zhuang, and said to a mechanism passage behind. That old guy has deep inner strength. If I follow in, I will definitely be discovered by him. You kid pretended to come here unintentionally, and deceived that star-absorbing Dafa. At that time, there will be a lot of benefits for you kid. In the dark cavern, the voice of Heizi seemed to be still resounding in his ears, but Chen Li had already smiled, and walked towards the deep dark cavern where he didn't know where to go. As his footsteps spread, the cave became more and more humid, and he could feel that he had come to the bottom of the West Lake under Meizhuang. And soon, a little bit of unusual light also appeared in front of Chen Li's eyes. The candle was lit here, and Chen Li stepped into it without even thinking about it. The sound of clattering chains was extremely ear-piercing, and just as Chen Li stepped into the dungeon, he felt an indescribable aura coming over him, as if he had met a natural enemy. Huh, who are you? How did you come here? The voice resounded in his ears like a Hong Zhang Da Lu, and Chen Li looked up at the voice. One head was covered with black hair, and the hands and feet were locked by cold black iron chains, even piercing through the pippa bone. The old man appeared before his eyes. From the player's perspective, the name of gold above the old man's head represents his terrifying strength. Open black lens bracket let me go, level 61 close black lens bracket. Level 60 is a hurdle. This is the level between innate and acquired. The power of innate chi is not comparable to that of acquired warriors. I've seen Senior Ren. Chen Li saluted the old man, not at all flustered and at a loss as Hei's made him perform before. This appearance made the old man's black long eyebrows slightly raised. You know me. The old man looked Chen Li up and down, and asked curiously. Chen Li nodded. Hei's told me about you outside. The old man sneered. So that guy sent you here, or did he want to coerce me to hand over that star-absorbing technique? Just kidding, he is a dirty and despicable villain, and he dares to meddle in the old man's magical skills. Divine skill. If it was really magical, Lao Su would have joined forces with Black and White Z long ago. But it's a pity that your star-absorbing method can't even be considered a unique skill. Chen Li nodded, and then asked, Senior, can you confirm that there are only you and me here? Ren Wuxing was taken aback for a moment, not knowing what Chen Li meant, but he still nodded and said. Although the old man's body is constrained, he has all 5 senses, and his inner strength is deep. I naturally know that someone is coming to this dungeon. In fact, the old man has already sensed it just as you stepped into it. Chen Li then smiled and nodded. Since that's the case, Chen told seniors that Black and White wants me to pretend to come here unintentionally, with the intention of having you take in an apprentice with the utmost talent, and teach you the star-absorbing method. At that time, I will hand over the star-absorbing method to him. As soon as this remark came out, Ren Wuxing was also taken aback for a moment, and looked at Chen Li in disbelief. He just heard that this method is indeed possible. In fact, he also felt that there was no hope of getting out of trouble in this life. If there was a successor accidentally, it would indeed be a fulfillment of a long-cherished wish. He looked at Chen Li suspiciously. Your talent is unrivaled. Ha ha ha, interesting and interesting. In this case, why did you tell me about this? The old man relies on the great method of absorbing stars to rule the world. My Sun Moon God sect is also very famous in this Zhongnan place. If your kid is really talented, it is possible for this old man to teach you every move and a half. Why are you so blunt now? Quote. Chen Li smiled slightly. To him, Feng Li's star-absorbing method, which was regarded as a precious treasure, was just a useless piece of chicken rib. With 10,000 swords returning to the clan, the value of these things to him was too low. He doesn't like it at all. Under the weight of the two phases, he still thinks it is more important to gain Ren Wuxing's favor. He looked at Ren Wuxing and said bluntly. Senior Ren is world-class in martial arts, but he is not suitable for Chen's martial arts. Chen also disdains to use such small tricks and opportunistic. Ren Wuxing was still a little unconvinced, and looked at the kid in front of him. You are young, but your tone is arrogant. The old man and the Sun Moon God sect are so profound, do you want any martial arts? Chen Li grasped the long sword hanging from his back, and pulled out the hilt tightly. The clanging sound of the sword resounded throughout the prison. He chuckled softly. I only love the 3-foot sword in my life, for the sky and to show injustice. Ren Wuxing blinked, looked at the young man in green and holding a long sword in front of him, and repeated softly. For the sake of heaven and to show injustice. Ha ha ha. Good. What a man who stands up to the sky and shows injustice. Boy, how about asking me to be my teacher? Apart from the Sun Moon God sect, I have many other martial arts. Ren Wuxing's favorability towards you plus 50. Current favorability, 50. Trust. Why can't I understand this? Chen Li is a little speechless. He doesn't want to be a teacher, and some people force others. And this favorability, although he really thinks that there are few in the world who can compare with this appearance, but it is not so attractive to an old man who is dying, right? And he really didn't like Ren Wuxing. His strength in the previous life was much stronger than this Ren Wuxing. Chen Li shook his head resolutely. Forgive me, senior. The junior is really unlucky. Moreover, what I have learned is not what I love, and it is difficult to become a master. Ren Wuxing was taken aback for a moment, then sighed. It's the same reason, what a pity. I have been in the world for so many years, and you are the first person who speaks like this. What a pity. He said it was a pity several times. But then he raised his head and looked at Chen Li in front of him. Boy, you can do one thing for me, and I can introduce you to a peerless swordsman. Chen Li's heart moved, and he looked at Ren Wuxing in front of him. Finally a smile appeared. Senior, please speak up. Boy, come here. Ren Wuxing waved his hand slightly. Chen Li does not doubt that there is him, and now Ren Wuxing is shackled and locked up all over his body. Ren Wuxing's face suddenly became ferocious, but this ferocity didn't come towards him, but exerted force somewhere. Pung! A dull explosion made the corners of Chen Li's eyes twitch suddenly. Ren Wuxing's face was painful and ferocious. He opened his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood towards Chen Li. Chen Li dodged subconsciously, but seeing that it wasn't covered by any internal force, it was obviously not an attack, so he stretched out his hand in some doubts. In the bloody water, a big tooth clearly stood before his eyes. This is a token. Do you have a pen and paper with you? I learned calligraphy and dancing with Dan Qingsheng and Bald Pen Wang before. Chen Li really has paper and pen. Cold sweat dripped from Ren Wuxing's forehead, his lute bone was pierced, and he couldn't move his hands and feet. At this time, he used his true energy to force his palm to write on the white paper, which undoubtedly took a lot of effort. It took nearly a quarter of an hour to write, and this is considered to be sealed. Boy, turn your head around. Hearing Ren Wuxing's words, Chen Li turned around and handed over a stack of letter papers. The one on the envelope is the address you want to send it to. When you get there, you should be cautious in your words and deeds. The master over there is no match for the half-crippled old man. Chen Li nodded, and put the envelope into his backpack with great care. At the same time, a system prompt sounded. You have accepted the mission, Survival from Desperation, 8 grades. Close black lens bracket. Okay, next, there is one last thing. Ren Wuxing lowered his head, obviously just writing such a letter just now has already consumed most of his energy. It's just that at this time, the aura of his whole body is getting stronger and stronger. Chen Li only felt that his figure was even a little unstable. This was not an illusion, but a fact. His figure instantly moved towards Ren Wuxing in front of him. Chen Li's eyes narrowed slightly. This old guy won't have anything left behind, will he? Ren Wuxing is the leader of the Sun Moon God sect. Although he is not the kind of vicious person who is truly devoid of conscience, he is definitely not a kind person either. The name of the 3 corpse brain god pills is out there. It's just that Chen Li really thought too much. An extremely dull muffled sound came out. The muffled sound was so long that even black and white who were waiting outside could feel it. He Z frowned slightly, looking at the entrance of the passage in front of him, hesitant. Chen Li can't control so much at this time. At some point, his palm and Ren Wuxing's palm clasped together. A terrifying force seeped into his meridians and acupuncture points from his palm. This force is not the kind of violent explosive force. It's pure internal energy. This is. Chen Li was taken aback for a moment, and the system notification sound came again. You have obtained Ren Wuxing's teaching skills, your internal strength plus 2500 points. You have obtained the 8th rank internal strength, star absorbing Dafa. Close black lens bracket. Question mark. Chen Li looked at the log messages from the system and blinked, but he didn't come to his senses. He really doesn't want this star absorbing Dafa, but if it is free, Chen Li has absolutely no objection. The most important thing is to pass on the practice. This kind of adventure that seems to be exclusive to the protagonist in martial arts novels is actually very rare in the real world. Few people really do things that harm themselves and benefit others. Although it is obvious that the internal strength of the martial arts taught by Ren Wuxing is not much, but it is definitely not too little. Even because of this, the level above Ren Wuxing's head slowly faded from level 61 by 1 level, returning to level 60. This is a manifestation of backward skills. Senior, what do you mean? This senior, Chen Li is truly from the heart. Ren Wuxing's face turned pale, and he said lightly. I teach and behave, and I always repay kindness with kindness, and revenge with revenge. You boy is in line with the old man's temper. What is that black and white man? How dare you spy on the old man's magical skills? This time you tell the truth and promise to help the old man so much, the old man will naturally not treat you badly. Don't worry, with this little skill, if the old man gets out of trouble, maybe the black and white sun will be able to feed back to the old man alone. Don't worry about it either. If the old man has another day to see you again outside, I must introduce you to the old man's daughter who looks like a fairy. Quote. Seeing that the old guy was still in the mood to joke, Chen Li felt a little relieved. He pursed his lips, and after a long time, he bowed to the mad-looking old man with disheveled hair in front of him, and saluted. Thank you, Senior. If Senior has something to ask in the future, this Junior will definitely not refuse. At the same time, this Junior will also find a suitable successor for the Senior for this great method of absorbing stars. Live up to the trust. Ren Wuxing smiled, and just about to say something, his expression suddenly changed. He gave Chen Li a wink, and then shouted loudly. Where did you come from, you little, get the hell out of here. A mere junior dares to try to spy on this old man's magical skills. If this old man is not in prison, I will definitely slap you to death. Chen Li's mind turned so fast, he immediately understood. HMPH. Old man, it's your loss not to accept me as an apprentice, just wait and regret it. After saying that, he quickly walked out of the prison room. Sure enough, not long after, in the passageway of the secret room of the prison, I saw a black and white man with an ugly face. Heihei didn't speak, and led Chen Li out of the secret passage. Heihei's favorability towards you -35. Current favorability, 5, friendly. The old guy. A cold look flashed across Chen Li's eyes, it was really realistic. Senior, forgive me, this old thing is really. Before Chen Li finished speaking, Heihei waved his hand and said calmly. Forget it, it's because you don't have such a blessing. Don't reveal this matter to outsiders, if not, hee. Zhan Tian referred to martial arts before, but he never mentioned it again. After saying that, Heihei turned around and left directly. After threatening him once, he refused to say anything more to Chen Li. Chen Li didn't care, and after saying hello to Dan Qingsheng, he left the Mizhuang. The plot of the Fuzhou Fuwei escort is estimated to be 2 days old. This is the first large-scale plot of Zhonghu. Chen Li naturally cannot miss it. It only takes half a day to travel by carriage from Yuhang to Fuzhou in the south of the Five Ridges. Chen Li was not idle, and looked at the extra line of words in his list of martial arts with a little speechlessness. Star Attraction Dafa, 8 grades. Martial arts type, internal strength. Ren Wuxing's unique technique can absorb the internal energy of others from a distance, but when it is required to absorb it, its own internal energy is empty, so it can be done. There is also the risk of backlash from the mixing of many different internal forces. Rumor has it that it is a weakened version of the secret, Beiming divine art, of the Xiaoyao school. But it has added the magical effect of absorbing internal force from a distance. Close black lens bracket. Practice requirements. Upper limit of internal force greater than 5,000, current internal force is 0. Comprehension greater than 30. Concentration greater than 25. Root bone greater than 30. Close black lens bracket. Note. The star-absorbing great method of luck is gathered in the heart. You can choose to practice, or you can write it out silently to form a martial arts secret book. Note. After forming martial arts cheats, you can't practice directly again. You can only practice through martial arts cheats. When Ren Wuxing is passing on the merits to himself, he will also pass on the method of luck of this star-absorbing Dafa at the same time. It's just that I haven't practiced it. Chen Li didn't plan to cultivate either. With the effect of returning to the sect of 10,000 swords, the potential consumed by cultivating internal energy is increased by 5 times. This kind of consumption is undoubtedly getting twice the result with half the effort, and it is meaningless. Moreover, only one kind of internal energy is effective at the same time. No matter how much internal energy is cultivated, even if it can increase a little internal energy, but only one type of internal energy can be used, it is a waste of energy and time to rashly replace the internal energy. After Chen Li glanced at it, he ignored it. The level of this star-absorbing Dafa is not low, but compared to the Wanjian Guizong, it is not known how much worse, so naturally he will not buy a box to return the pearl. What's more, there is also the risk of mixed internal forces, which is easy to backlash and become obsessed. Compared with Beiming Shenggong's inclusiveness, it is many times worse. If possible in the future, barter or sell at a high price. Thinking of this, Chen Li took out the letter Ren Wuxing left for him. Naturally, he would not open the letter to see what was written inside, but looked at the address on the envelope where he wanted to send it. On the outskirts of Jin Kingdom's capital, Shilin Mountain Villa. Chen Li frowned. The kingdom of Jin and the kingdom of Liao, the kingdom of Song and the kingdom of Ming are in a north-south confrontation in the rivers and lakes. One south and one north, the distance is extremely far. Even if you use the system's carriage station, it may take a day, much time. Needless to say, it is far away from Lingnan. Chen Li shook his head, he didn't seem to be in a hurry. Fuzhou, Lingnan, in Zhonghu, this place is not too conspicuous. It is relatively far away from the land of the Central Plains, and there are no well-known sects in the world. But now, this place is bustling with many people. The vast majority are players. In just 1 week, the vast majority of players have already entered the master's school. After learning some basic martial arts, it can be regarded as having the foundation to enter the rivers and lakes. Chen Li had no intention of wandering around in Fuzhou City, so he came directly to the door of an inn. As expected, a figure's eyes lit up when he saw him. Lao Dao was wearing a black linen robe, a loon scarf on his head, and a long knife on his waist and hips. He kept yelling, "Chenur, Chenur, here, Niang, don't even mention it, this outfit of your kid is more attractive than in reality." Chen Li, who was dressed in a white robe, looked at Lao Dao with a smile on his face. At first glance, he looked like a bald man with a bald head in reality, but he was really uncomfortable with his short hair. "The old knife akimbo, do you know what sect we worshipped, and what martial arts are we now?" Chen Li glanced at this guy speechlessly. This guy really still has the personality to show off. But he does have the qualifications to show off. Lao Dao's luck and strength are extraordinary. Especially this luck. In the land of south of the 5 ridges, there are indeed no famous sects, but there is an unimaginable hidden giant. Lingnan Tiandao Song family. Not interested, what's going on now? Lao Dao's arrogance faltered immediately, but he still said, "We only came to Fuzhou City yesterday, but I heard that many people came here. At this stage, apart from you, there should be no one famous in the Zhonghu. Mainly people from the 5 Sacred Sword sect. The Washan faction should have the most. And there are many people from the Washan school who belong to the Long Tianwei. Their guild has settled in the Washan faction. The plot line of swordsman is the plot of Washan, so they naturally pay attention to it." Quote. Speaking of this, Lao Dao smiled. "You don't know, the president of Changtian, what is the name of lonely walking, Guawire? I let you know before, this evil sword technique is wanted by Changtian's people. Whoever dares to obstruct it, it is Changtian enemy." Long days. Chen Li was taken aback for a moment, showing a disdainful smile, but he didn't say much, and asked instead, "What is this guy going to do? Are you going to help Lin Zhenan's family? Get goodwill, and then get the evil sword technique?" The old knife snorted. "How can this group of people have the strength to face Yu Kanghai directly? Someone from Changtian joined the Qingcheng faction, somehow got acquainted with Hu Riniang and the others from Qingcheng Sixiu, and they got enough goodwill to steal the cassock at that time. They don't practice this evil sword technique, the main purpose is to give Yu Buchan a wave of favorability over there. Compared with Dugu 9 swords and Zixia divine art, the evil sword technique is nothing but a martial art that can only be seen and cannot be learned." Up. Quote. Chen Li nodded. It was indeed in line with the development of the previous life, and in the end it really made the people of Changtian do it. He finally looked at Lao Dao. "What about you? How about the plot this time? Is it watching a show or playing?" Lao Dao's strength, among the players who come now, can definitely rank among the top 3. If he makes a shot, Chen Li's confidence will increase a lot. Lao Dao glanced at Chen Li, and instead of answering directly, he straightened the hilt of his own knife and smiled. "We have had a rivers and lakes dream since we were young. Now it has finally come true." You said, "What is the reason for wandering in the rivers and lakes?" Chen Li was taken aback for a moment. He looked at the sword in his hand, and said with a smile, "Happy love and hatred, crossing the rivers and lakes, reaching the top of the sword, and hugging left and right." Lao Dao gave Chen Li another look, his contempt was beyond words. "Just you still hugging left and right. Kendo is at the top. Vulgar. Have you ever tasted a girl? Do you know how high the sky is and how high the masters in the world are? My master, mother, he is not human, don't talk about him." Quote. Chen Li chuckled, completely disdainful. "What's the matter? You're not vulgar anymore. Then tell me, what is the purpose of wandering the rivers and lakes? This dwarf is unreasonable. We have to take care of things that others can't control." Lao Dao snorted coldly, and pulled out the long knife at his waist with a clang sound. "Healing the injustices in the world, and being worthy of the people in the world. We walk the rivers and lakes for this." Under the sunlight, the light of the sword was dazzling, and the reflection of the old knife's cloudy eyes was also dazzling. Chen Li stared at the ambitious man, and was slightly taken aback. In his past and present lives, he seemed to have seen such an old knife for the first time. Your mother's hypocrisy. Chen Li looked at this man in his 30s who was still dreaming of being a hero with contempt, turned around and left. Hey, Chenur, why are you going? I'm going back to Yuhang, and let your god self heal the world's injustice here. Chen Li scolded with a smile. Don't do it, you won't win without a great master like you. We have spent a lot of hard work in improving our martial arts realm, and we can't afford to lose once we die. Lao Dao hurriedly followed up and said with a smile. Then why are you still talking here? Can't see it in the chat channel. Yu Kanghai has already arrived, Fuwei escort. If we don't go there, I'm afraid we won't even be able to get in. Let's go. Fuwei escort. It can be said to be one of the largest building facades in Fuzhou. It occupies almost the entire front of the street. It's just that the facade that was extremely lively in the past, now has an indescribably strange desertedness. There were few people around, but they happened to be around this long street, and there were figures looking at the huge Fuwei escort bureau. Or look at the figures on the opposite side of the street not far from the Fuwei escort. Dressed in a Taoist robe, his whole body exuded a glaring cold murderous aura. Yu Kanghai looked at the incoming Qingcheng disciple with his cold eyes, and frowned slightly. Yinger, where are your two junior brothers? Why are you two here? Hu Reniang is the elder brother of Qingcheng Sixiu. Looking around for a while, he also frowned. Master, junior brother Hong and I set off from Suzhou earlier, and junior brother Yu and junior brother Luo left temporarily from Yuheng. It stands to reason that we should have arrived there. Yu Kanghai frowned, but at this moment, a voice suddenly came from beside him. Master, this disciple knows the two senior brothers. The person who opened the mouth was wearing a blue Taoist robe, and he was obviously also a disciple of the Qingcheng sect. It's just that he is thin and small, and has a wretched face, but in this Qingcheng faction, he is the most trusted alien player by Yu Kanghai. Oh, reporting to the master, among the aliens, there was a boy named Chen Li who beheaded the two senior brothers in Yuheng. The player said. What? Yu Kanghai clenched his fist suddenly, and a suffocating aura came out, making some Qingcheng disciples beside him pale and ugly. Yu Kanghai's eyes were extremely gloomy. To him, apart from his own son, the four disciples he grew up with were the closest people. But Yu Kanghai's heart is cold. His own son's death can be used by him as a reason to deprive him of the evil spirit sword technique. This disciple's death is still at the hands of an unknown stranger, there is nothing he can do about it. Forget it. The business is important. What is that Chen Li? When you see it, you can kill him. From now on, I will keep an eye on this Fuwei escort, and no one is allowed to approach its door half a step away. Who dares to step out of this Fuwei escort for 10 steps, kill. Senior Yu, don't worry, with me and my Changtian club members around, no one from Fuwei escort will be allowed to escape. At this moment, a handsome young man who looked to be in his 20s cupped his hands and said with a smile. This person is no one else, it is the president of the Changtian Association in the Old Knife Mouth, a well-known big shot in the game circle of the Dragon Kingdom, and Changtian walks alone. Yu Kanghai glanced at him and smiled faintly. Sect Master Yu has taken in a good disciple. Little brother, have you ever thought about changing the sect? The old man has grown in strength now, and compared to Sect Master Yu, he is not much better. Chong Tian Duxing cursed disdainfully in his heart, although Yu Buchan is not a good thing, Washan really has the bottom of the box. Not to mention such unique skills as Dugu 9 swords. Kazong alone has the 7th grade swordsmanship of Taiyu Sanqingfeng, and the 8th grade internal strength of Zixia divine art. There are even more sword sects, the 6th rank Quangfeng Kuaijian, and the 7th rank life-killing Chain 3 immortal swords. Which of these things is not much better than your Qingcheng faction? But he naturally didn't dare to say it clearly, he could only bend over and smile. Senior Yu loves you so much, and the junior Meng family teacher values it very much. Although I admire the martial arts of the senior, I dare not do such a rebellious thing. Yu Kanghai felt no pity, and nodded. Since that's the case, then thank you little friend. As the most top trade union in Dragon Kingdom, Chongtian has a large number of people, so it goes without saying, but naturally it is impossible for all of them to have the ability to come to Fuzhou. A rough count is only a few hundred people. At this moment, there was finally movement in the Fuwei escort bureau. A man who looked about 30, dressed in strong clothes and full of vigor, came outside the gate of the courtyard. It's just that he just took a step, a thunderbolt has been directly chiseled into the stone slab in front of him, and the indestructible Qingxi floor was directly blasted to pieces. Whoever dares to step out of Fuwei escort for 10 steps will die. The man stopped suddenly. Master Yu is a senior in Zhonghu, so why did he come to this? I am Wang Wu, a diner of Loyang Golden Knife Wang's family, and I hope that Mr. Yu will take it for the sake of the Golden Knife Wang family. What kind of thing are you? What kind of thing is his golden sword Wang family? The hatred of murdering a son is unshakable. Since your excellency intends to settle this matter, let's see if you have the ability. Yu Kanghai sneered, and the Songwen sword suddenly came out of its sheath on his back. This is also the first time for all players to see the horror of high-level NPC shots. This kind of terrifying swordsmanship is not comprehensible at all from the movies and TV shows. The sword energy was like a strong wind in the dense forest. The man named Wang Wu from the Golden Knife sect only felt his hairs blowing up. He pulled out the long knife from his waist and swung the golden knife like a tiger. But compared to Yu Kanghai, who is the leader of a faction, he is undoubtedly far behind. The Song Wen sword is impenetrable, and with just one strike, it broke the man's impenetrable sword technique. It's over. The man looked at the cold and sharp long sword, thought to himself, and subconsciously closed his eyes. Too fierce. All the players exclaimed in their hearts, even Chengtian Lonely Walker who didn't take Yu Kanghai to heart before. This kind of strength, above the rivers and lakes, is even worthy of being on the stage, and this Yu Kanghai can't even qualify for the list of people. But it is such a person, the strength displayed at this time can be called terrifying. This man named Wang Wu is quite strong, but compared to Yu Kanghai at this time, he is undoubtedly much worse. It's just that at this critical moment, two bright arcs of light seemed to descend from the sky. One on the left blocked Yu Kanghai's sure-kill sword, and the other on the right went towards the gate of life in Yu Kanghai's back. No one can tell when these two arcs appeared. It's like no one can understand Yu Kanghai's sword technique just now. Where did Xiao Xiao come from? Dare to sneak attack on this old man. An angry shout full of inner strength made Chen Li's eyes darken slightly, but his swordsmanship was not slow at all. His combat experience is not weaker than Yu Kanghai's. In the past few years in his last life, even if he has not experienced 10,000 battles, he must have 8,000. Compared with Yu Kanghai, his level is unimaginably far behind, but relying on the internal strength of letting me pass on the skills, the skill of swallowing the monkey wine for nourishment, as well as the terrifying effect of returning to the sect of 10,000 swords and the 7th level of splashing ink in the hemp swordsmanship, he even fought Yu Kanghai in a short period of time without losing the wind. Lao Dao supported Wang Wu who was on the side to sit down, and looked at him with bright eyes. Yu Kanghai didn't entangle Chen Li anymore, he separated him with two swords, then stepped back, and shouted violently again. Where is the boy, dare to come to this muddy water? He didn't know about Chen Li, but all the players watching at Fuwei Escort had their eyes widened. Although they couldn't see the ids and names of the two who suddenly appeared, it was because of this that they could be sure of one thing. Is this a player? Who are these two people? They can meet Yu Kanghai now. It's not these two people, it's the one with the sword. Didn't you see that? There was no disadvantage between Yu Kanghai and Yu Kanghai just now. Isn't this too outrageous? The voices of discussion made it a little noisy, but it didn't affect the eyes of one of them at all. Feng Lai fixed his eyes on the figure standing in front of Fuwei Escort Bureau. Of course he would never forget this figure. It was the kid who didn't know his name who humiliated him a few days ago at the gate of Mizhuang. Now that he actually appeared at the door of Fuwei Escort Bureau, it can be said that the enemy met, and he was extremely jealous. Feng Lai walked forward slowly a few steps, came to Chong Tian Duzing's side, and said softly. Long time no see, lonely brother. The latter was taken aback, turned his head to look at Feng Lai, and raised his eyebrows. So it's you. What's the matter? Feng Lai smiled slightly. Feng Xing cooperates with Chengtian once, how about? Chen Li really didn't know about this secret matter. Of course, even if he knew, he wouldn't pay attention to it at all. Looking at Yu Kanghai's angry eyes, he clasped his sword in both hands and said. Chen Li, an unknown boy in the Zhonghu, has met Senior Yu, Head Yu. Hearing this name, Yu Kanghai was slightly taken aback, the name seemed familiar. It's just that before his thoughts turned, the disciple of Qingcheng beside him said in surprise. Master. It's him. It's this Chen Li who killed senior brother Yu and the others. As soon as these words came out, Yu Kanghai remembered what he had just said, and his murderous intent returned. Chen Li didn't intend to continue to entangle with Yu Kanghai, and gave Lao Dao a wink, and the two of them took Wang Wu back to the bodyguard bureau. Yu Kanghai looked at the door of the bodyguard agency that was closed with a bang, and his face was ugly, but he didn't enter directly after all. Sit back on the seat of the booth again. Revenge is indeed important, but more important is the evil sword manual. Lin Zhenen's confidence and courage must be worn away, so that he can obediently surrender this evil sword technique. And in this escort agency, Chen Li and Lao Dao finally met the current head of the Fuwei escort agency again. Wang Wu told Lin Zhenen about the incident with a face of shame, and Lin Zhenen immediately led his wife and children to kneel down. Thank you to the two heroes for their generous help. The Fuwei escort bureau and my Lin family will never repay you. Lao Dao regained his energy at this time, and quickly helped him up, laughing with a look of righteousness. What did Chief Lin say? Seeing injustice on the road, it is only my brother's job to help each other. Don't worry about it. Chen Li didn't speak, but glanced at Lin Pingji, who had clenched his fists and had red eye circles. Among the Xiaoao Zhonghu, Chen Li actually has a better impression of Lin Pingji than Ling Guchong. From a pure and kind young man, Lin Pingji was forced step by step to his final end. From the beginning, he never did anything wrong. To say what Zhang Er said, it is this world that is wrong. The weak eat the strong. If possible, he still wants to change the plot line of Xiaoao. So Chen Li thought for a while before speaking. The Qingcheng faction is so powerful, even if it's my two brothers, I'm afraid it will be difficult to fight against each other. Lin Zhenen's face was a little pale, with a look of sadness on his face. Why didn't he know that this time he might be doomed? Lin Pingji at the side was all young and brave, and yelled, "Father, if you really can't do it, you will fight with that old dog. They sent snakes and rats in Qingcheng. I have a clear conscience, so why should I be afraid?" Quote. Chen Li kept silent, watching with cold eyes, but Lao Dao at the side frowned slightly, as if he was also thinking about the way to break the situation. Finally, Chen Li only felt that the time was ripe, and then he smiled softly. I have an idea. As soon as this statement came out, it undoubtedly attracted everyone's attention. Chen Li continued. Does escort Lin know, why did Yu Kanghai go so hard to destroy your Lin family? This. In addition to the main reason of killing Yu Renyan with the help of the young bodyguard, I think you should also know that it is indeed for your Lin family's evil sword technique. As soon as these words came out, Lin Zhenen narrowed his eyes slightly, but he didn't speak. Chen Li continued laughing. So, I have a plan. Chen released the news, saying that because of the evil sword technique, Chen has slaughtered all of your Lin family, and this evil sword technique has been taken away by me. It will definitely share a large part of the Qingcheng faction and attention to the rest. And taking advantage of this opportunity, Lao Dao, you took the opportunity to leave in disguise with a few members of the Lin family. Now the property of the Fuwei escort can't be kept. I believe the head of escort Lin should be able to understand it too. Quote. As soon as these words came out, Lin Zhenen's eyes lit up slightly, but before he could say anything, a system notification suddenly sounded from Chen Li's ears. Open black lens bracket notice. Notice. Player, Chen Li, you are reversing the key plot progress of the main plot, Swordsman, which will lead to an uncontrollable extension. Mission difficulty increased. Close black lens bracket. A series of warnings did not make Chen Li heed the slightest bit. In the previous life, which of the players who were ranked high in the heavens at the level of land gods did not come here like this? If that's the case, wouldn't you be in danger, Chen Xiaoxia? Chen Li smiled softly. Chen can't see the bullying of the weak by the strong, let alone the person who molests a woman from a good family. For what brother Lin did, Chen can't wait to replace it with his own body. Besides, I am a stranger, this little danger is nothing more than that. Quote. Finally, a special system prompt came to Chen Li's ears. The plot mission has been greatly changed. You have accepted the story mission, the target of public criticism, 9th grade. Close black lens bracket. Thanks for watching, subscribe and support my channel.